Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
All systems go.
On this episode of Let's Find Out, since 2007, our guest has published novels that collectively span the entire world of speculative fiction, from horror to fantasy to romance. He's recently returned from spending time writing a new book inside Kentucky's most haunted house. When he's not writing, you might catch him showcasing his dream car, a 1981 Delorean. Let's get ready to meet this ultimate creative powerhouse. All this plus more. Please welcome new friend and first-time guest, author Brian Paone. Brian, my friend.
Yeah, party people in the house.
Out.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you, brother?
I'm hanging in there, living the dream. That's what they say I'm supposed to say.
Oh, no, that's all true. You live in the American dream, brother. Let me tell you why. I actually officially met you last month over at Fright Reads. It was our good friend Harry who put us in contact by email.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was actually in Kentucky working on the book, and I think that we had broke to go to dinner when I got Harry kind of did like the chain email between you and me, and Harry was like, Diego, you need to talk to this guy. You know, like this guy's all around the country, staying in haunted, known locations to write books. You know, and I think that's how he hooked us up.
Yes, what he did, and a great job, because I was actually going to put you on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday because I figured, well, if it's a horror story writer and this and that, and fiction, science fiction, he goes, no, not so fast. You don't know what he's doing. I go, well, what is he doing? And he's telling me, oh no, we got to put him on Let's Find Out because that's what we're all about on this part of the show.
Right.
And but no, Fright Reads, tremendous event, and
Yep.
and this is the first time where I've actually got to see a DeLorean, like
Ever.
That
was your first time ever seeing a DeLorean?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Close.
Did you sit in it?
No, I didn't get a chance to. I think.
Yeah, if you had asked me, I would have let you sit in it.
You know what? Next time I'll do that.
You know what? Next time at this point, we got to ramp it up, and I'll take you for a ride.
Oh man, I would die a happy man. Everybody be so jealous of me, by the way. But no, the event, great. A lot of great authors, a lot of great people. Some presentations, and a musical number was also, an artist was on there. Very nice, very friendly. Even the fans were super psyched about the show, and I'm looking forward for next year, of course. Now, and going back to when we were emailing back and forth, and you were kind of towards the tail end of writing or just coming back from your trip, you said it before we started talking. Was it 8 weeks you were there in Kentucky?
No, I did 8 weeks at the Missouri State Penitentiary to write These Walls Still Talk, which came out June of this year. And so this, that's a whole nother story. But that story leads into how I even wound up in Kentucky. But the short version is I was the guest of honor at a paranormal soiree in New Jersey because of what I had done at Missouri State Penitentiary. And I did not want this to be a series. It was supposed to just be a one and done book. Kind of like the standalone, kind of cool thing that I did. And Wade from Nesper, the people who are in charge of, the Warren Museum, like the real Annabelle doll. I'm friends with Wade, very close friends with Wade. And me and Wade were talking, we're at the bar, and he was like, hey, I'm going to introduce you to Ernie and Denise Pack, who own what's considered Kentucky's most haunted inn. It's no longer an inn. It was for a really long time, for most of its history. It went through a couple of things, but it's really known to have been an inn where people stayed when they were traveling through. Ernie and Denise bought it, and it turned it into their home. So it's not an inn anymore, but it's their house. But the Ditto House is just, if you even Google it, like Kentucky's most haunted inn, it's the top of all the Google searches, and it's legit. And you can still pay for a room if you want to, even though it's not an inn anymore, properly. you can rent a room if you are interested in ghost hunting their house. So you can't stay there as like, you know, an Airbnb or as like as a bed and breakfast for like the family who's passing through. But if you are a paranormal investigator or a ghost hunter, or you're just want to stay in a haunted house, they do rent. They do have 2 rooms that they still rent out. 3 rooms actually that they will rent out to people. But you have to contact them like through their website, and you know it's stuff like that. So. And yeah, so I was there. So Missouri State Penitentiary, they gave me 8 weeks to write there, but I only wrote on the weekends. So at the end of those 8 weeks, I had been in Missouri State Penitentiary for 17 actual days, right? Because I was only there on Friday, Saturday, and some Sundays. So at the end of the 8 weeks, I was at MSP, which is what it's a short for Missouri State Penitentiary. It's just easier to say that. At MSP, because I kept a diary when I was there. I kept a diary of everything paranormal or unexplained or weird that happened to me while I was in there writing. And my editor talked me into publishing that diary at the back of the book. So like when people who buy the book, you read the novel, which is 100% fiction. It takes place inside MSP. It's about a ghost hunt gone wrong. And then at the end of the book, you get my diary of the things that truly, honest to God, happened to me, like while I was there. So when Ernie and Denise, when Wade from Nesper introduced me to Ernie and Denise at that soiree, they were like, "Hey, we'll let you come for 16 days. You get a room for free. We'll let you stay in the murder room." They call it the murder room for a very specific reason. It's like, you can have the murder room. And I was like, well, I wrote the first book in 17 days, cumulatively at MSP. I can tighten this up. I can shave a day off and get a novel done. And yeah, I wound up writing the last sentence of the book like 2 hours before I had to leave the Ditto House in Kentucky. Man, I pushed that. So so that was like the agreement we had. And so that this book takes place, the setting again is their house, the Ditto House, but it's a fictional story. It's another ghost hunting story, but the last thing I wanted to do is do a repeat of the previous book. I didn't want to just do the same old with just a different setting. So they are surrounded by woods. Fort Duffield surrounds them, and Fort Duffield is one of the highest activity of Sasquatch and Bigfoot sightings in the country. So people come from all over the country to go squatching in Fort Duffield, which is walking distance from the Ditto House. So I spent time writing both out at Fort Duffield in the woods, like alone, and inside the Ditto House writing. And I brought Bigfoot into the novel. So it is a paranormal / cryptid book where, I was like, there has to be another flavor, because really all I'd be doing is just giving the reader the same thing, right? Just somewhere else. And so the fact that they're surrounded by these Sasquatch woods, I just couldn't ignore that. So I went kind of deep in the lore of Sasquatch, and talked to a bunch of people who have seen them, and what were their feelings, how did they see them, and I did some research there. And there's a man, Greg, who lives in the area, and he goes by the name Squatch Man, and he speaks at Bigfoot conventions all over the country. He's one of the national kind of revered as one of the top Squatch people. Well, he came out twice and took me squatching out in the woods. Like, so I had like a private, Squatch Man, guide, I guess. And we went squatching together, and I just used that as research for the book, so it's 50% this haunted house that are also surrounded by these woods infested with Sasquatch. And that's the book that I wrote at Kentucky.
Was that your first time ever going squatching?
Yeah, I didn't know nothing about it. It was never on my radar, right? I didn't. So
no, and I can understand. If you're not an actual really into it, been doing it for so long, not something I want to say the normal people like us do.
Right.
If we go in the woods for different reasons, perhaps. Right. But now, before spending time in these 2 locations and writing the books,
yes,
did you have interest in paranormal? Any experiences or know somebody that had?
So, I was born and raised in Salem, Massachusetts. And I was born there. I moved out when I was 30. So the first 3 decades of my life was in Salem. I also grew up in a funeral home. I lived in a funeral home from the ages of 8 to 16, which 8 to 16, that's your formative years. That is really where you're finding out who you are. You're getting influences. That's where you shape who you're going to be for like the rest of your life. So I think being born and raised in Salem, and also those years living above a funeral home, and there was some crazy things that happened in the funeral home. We could do a whole hour show on living in a funeral home in Salem, Massachusetts, and all of the things that happened to me living in this funeral home. So I think it was always around me. It's not like I woke up one day and like saw a movie like in my teens and then became interested in the paranormal. When you live in Salem, when you're born in Salem, you don't know anything else but the macabre like every day. Because Salem, even in the middle of July, 80 degrees with not a cloud in the sky at noon, there's still this ominousness that like is in the city. You can always just feel there's a vibration in Salem. And so I think when you are born and you grow up and you spend, I spent the first decade of my adulthood, around that energy. I just think I'm very open to, not being closed. This is an oxymoron. I'm open to not being closed-minded when it comes to things. That doesn't mean that I'm going to buy into it just because, it's someone else believes in it. I definitely I'm the type of person that will roll my eyes at certain things, right? Because but we all have the things we are skeptics of, and we all have the things we believe. But growing up in Salem, to get back to your original question, there is no Sasquatch in Salem. We don't talk about it. We don't look for it. We don't have woods. The woods are, are a strip of trees between two houses. Like those are our woods up there, and so it was so off of my radar to Sasquatch to or go squatching at all. So how it got on my radar was I flew down to Kentucky to stay at the Dutta house for 5 days before the 16 days to write, so I could meet Ernie, or I could stay with Ernie and Denise, so I could kind of get a lay of the land. I didn't want to show up on day one that I was supposed to start writing a book and not have ever been to the house, not have ever seen the neighborhood, not have ever gone to Fort Duffield. Like I didn't want that. So I actually spent 5 days purely as a like get to know you type thing. And that was one of the 2 times that Squatch Man took me out squatching. And that's when I had made the decision. Because up until that moment, I did not think that there would be a Bigfoot in any of my novels ever. The closest thing I know about Bigfoot is Harry and the Hendersons.
Right.
That's where my like Bigfoot knowledge ends. But I was so like enamored with Greg, Squatch Man, and like calling out into the trees, and then you hear like a tree fall and rustling, and you're like, what the heck is going on out here? So I was like, okay, how can I not have Bigfoot in this book now at this point? Like it has to. It's writing itself, So no, squatching was something Brian Paone had never thought twice of until May of this year. And now it's a main focal of my book.
No, it sounds awesome because not only is this your first time going squatching, but you kind of heard some things in the woods as well. Now, seeing that you were your first time going out with this gentleman, did he
Right.
give you some warnings or do's and don'ts while he's with you?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Like don't startle them. No loud noises. Don't be aggressive. Respect. They're the kings of their castle, and we're in their castle. Like respect their presence and their power. You're not in there you're not hunting them, right? That's not what you're there for. And he said that they'll get the feeling of that. Like they understand that. He also, don't chase, don't go running after one, right? Also phones. If you're just standing there with your phone, with your iPhone up, and it's just on record because you're hoping to catch it, he says they won't show up. They want that intimate one-on-one thing. snapping pictures here and there is fine. But people who just sit there like they're at a concert with their hand like this, just filming, that's another big no-no. He says he finds that actually lowers the activity.
Right. And they've been around for so long. I think they've seen everything.
Yeah.
People going out there in the woods. So I think they're onto us with our technology. And I
Right.
think, I'm not going to show up in your dumbass video.
Right.
So don't even, but
Right.
no. It's great to see some of this footage either way, or pictures. Now, going back to your book writing process,
Mhm.
was it important to you to spend that much time in these locations in order to get the real feel for your creativity to put into these books?
Yeah. So these books are books 11 and 13 of my career. So there is a book that came out after the Missouri State Penitentiary book came out. Fright Reads was actually its launch, and that's a mockumentary about a werewolf movie that doesn't actually exist. And then the Ditto House book will be book 13, which comes out early 2026. So if we take, out of my 13 books, most of my books are me sitting in my writing office or coming up with ideas, and writing while I'm looking out the window at my backyard, with a cup of coffee next to me. And, maybe my dog needs to go for a walk, and, I've got work tomorrow. So to be in these locations where I'm not leaving until the book is done, and I'm writing in the places that they are taking place, like completely immersing myself. It's like, when actors do, what do they call it? When they don't break character.
Is it method acting?
Method. Yeah. So method acting, right? So I've been told by a handful of people, they're like, do you realize what you're doing is method writing? You're putting yourself in these locations that the books are set in, and they're scary as crap too. And you're doing it. You're in there alone in the dark at night, but you want to, you want that to come through to the reader. That I was scared. I was scared while I was writing this chapter, and I hope that like portrays, and the reader picks up on that. So.
And in touching on what you said, because you went there to write this book, of course, you got to give yourself a bit of a timeline. Like, I'm going to be here for X amount of days,
Yes.
and your goal is to finish it by that time.
Right.
How long into this writing process did you start having any kind of experience or your inspiration sprung up?
Both locations, Missouri State Penitentiary and the Ditto House, paranormal or unexplained things happened on day one, right from the beginning. They had very specific things that happened to me in both locations right on day one. It's almost like they knew I was there. If you believe that, that there are ghosts, it almost is like they knew I was there and what I was doing. And they were not shy in both locations. So that set the tone, I think, early on. And again, like I kept a diary of the 8 weeks at Missouri State Penitentiary, and it is published at the back of that book. The Ditto House, I did also keep a diary, but because I don't ever want the two books to feel like they're the same thing, I'm duplicating it. I even went ahead and my diary is going to be at the end, but where the Missouri State Penitentiary book, These Walls Still Talk, the diary at the back is very much in a diary format. Like it's day one, dear diary, like day two, it's more like a grocery list of things that happened to me. I'm going to do the Ditto House diary. I'm going to write it more like a narrative, almost like more like I'm telling you what happened to me, as opposed to being like date and time stamped, like saw a shadow figure, called my mom crying, want to go home. Like that's the diary in the first book, right? I don't want to do that. I want to have it more feel like an epilogue where I'm talking to you like one-on-one. And that's only because I just don't want to do the diary format again, because I did it already. And I just don't want the reader to ever feel like I'm just doing the same thing again.
Right. And you definitely mentioned that's very important to you because, like you say, you don't want to duplicate your work and then lose the interest of the reader. But at the same time, these are actual events that you're going through. And kind of like me. So if I have a project, right, and you'll see what I'm saying once my babbling is completed. I don't tell many people what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
Maybe my wife, of course, and then one or two people, and they give me pointers. When you reveal to whoever it was what your mission was
Mhm.
to go to these locations and stay there, what was their reaction? They're saying, "Are you crazy doing this?" Or
So I had two reactions. I had, oh my God, I wouldn't be caught dead doing that. I cannot wait to read this book. Or there was, you are either a marketing genius or a complete idiot. And I can't tell which one. Yeah. So I had people being like, marketing wise, this is gold. Like, you are staying in this place and your diary is at the back of the book. Like, oh my God. Like, nobody's like, I don't know any other book out there where this happened. I do know that authors have gone to locations to research and also maybe write. So, like, I know authors who have set their novel in like seaside Italy and went to Italy for 10 days so they could tour the seaside, and then they go home and write the book. I still have yet to find someone that were like, no, I'm going to trap myself inside this haunted location for 8 weeks and write this horror novel about this location. So the feedback was both. It was two-sided. It was definitely like, wow, I wish I had thought of that, because the marketing behind this is going to be crazy. And then I have the people who are like, you're out of your mind. Like, I wouldn't be caught dead in there in the daylight, and you're in there at night alone.
no, and of course, understandably so, with especially the history of these locations. When you went, did you take any other equipment other than, like, say, your writing pad, your laptop, and your cell phone? Did you take any what generic term ghost hunting equipment or paranormal equipment to try to get anything?
Yep, I took a lot, actually. I have a backpack, a ghost hunting backpack, which I did not have like 6 months ago. So if you went back, if you got in my DeLorean and time traveled a year backwards, and you said, Brian, in a year from now, you will have stayed at two of America's most haunted locations, written two novels, and you will have a backpack of ghost hunting gear, I would have been like, what happens in my life that I get there? Because that was not, So I learned so much about paranormal equipment by writing the first book. So I bought a REM pod. I have a whole bag of cat balls, cat toys. I have the grid matrix where you can see shadow figures go in front. I have a tracer strip. That's my favorite. The tracer strip is probably my favorite ghost hunting tool. I have an EVP recorder. I have a ghost bell. Oh, so they call it a dead bell. I call it a ghost bell, but everyone seems to likes the word dead bell. I have a K2 meter, and I know I have some more stuff, and it's just not coming to me right now. Yeah, so I kind of went out and went a little crazy with the gear, and I had it at these locations while I was writing. So it'd be weird, like going ahead and I'd be typing away, it's 2 a.m, I'm alone, it's pitch black, and then the tracer light goes off next to me, and you're like, oh boy, there we go, or something like that, So, or a cat ball that I had forgotten I had put on like a desk somewhere starts blinking, and
I mean, very brave for you to do, to be writing in the environment you went to. Coming back home, you have everything written and you're ready to go. Did any of these spirits follow you back?
no.
Good.
Nope. And I was told when I was at MSP, because MSP is open to the public for historic tours in the day and then ghost tours at night in the evening. So I was around the staff, at times, and the staff told me that they've never felt like anything has ever followed them home, and they've been working there 10 plus years. I felt very safe, leaving and something not coming with me. The Ditto House, I felt the same way. I felt like everything stays there. They either like their environment or they can't leave their environment. But I did not in any way, shape, or form was ever nervous that it was going to happen, nor felt like it did happen.
Well, I'm glad they didn't follow you back, my friend. Sometimes these kind of things do happen
Yeah.
if you're not prepared properly.
Right.
Now that you've gone through this experience, would you do it again? And if so, what locations would you like to go to?
Yes. And I am doing it again. I actually, so So I guess I should kind of brief you on like so it's a series. And again, like I said, I never expected it to be a series. It was supposed to, These Walls Still Talk was supposed to be a standalone single book, one and done. The ghost hunting company in These Walls Still Talk is a ghost hunting company called Get Haunted. They're the ghost hunting company that are investigating MSP when everything goes south. And I was like, well, if I'm going to make this a series, why don't I do it like the Hardy Boys or Nancy Drew or something like that, where you have the same like two main characters, the ghost hunters, but the location changes, the storyline changes, and you never need to you could read them out of order. So it's not a part 1, part 2. It's they're all be standalone books. It's just Get Haunted is always the ghost hunting company that comes in to the location. They're what ties all the books together. I also made sure that in the Ditto House book, the Kentucky book, that they do not discuss anything that happened in These Walls Still Talk, because then it would make it a sequel, right? So these books are supposed to maybe exist only once, and they don't know that the other books happened, like a Scooby-Doo episode. So that was kind of my model for it, and that was the only way I felt comfortable doing it, because if the characters remembered or discussed or referenced things that happened in other books, then again, now it's a series, and now I have to tell the reader what order to read them in, because they won't understand the context. So I've made sure that you could read my Ditto House book and not read These Walls Still Talk, and you will not even know there is a book before it, and you're good, right? And I do have a couple more locations. I have one confirmed, set in stone, that it will probably be the next on location where I'm staying. I can't tell you the name of it because me and the owner are still going back and forth, working out the deal, working out the time. And he asked me not to like publicly announce that I'm going to be there, only in case it falls through. He doesn't look like a liar. I don't want to look like a liar, because then we got to go back and be like, oh, this is what happened, and we have to explain ourselves. The only thing that I can say is that because Brian doesn't ever want any of these books in the series to duplicate or copy each other, I've had a prison, I've had an inn / someone's house. So this third location is an old insane asylum.
Wow. Okay.
So again, I'm throwing in a different location, a different type of building. But when we're ready to announce it, when we're all good and we're done and the dates are set, then I will absolutely. The other thing I can tell you also is I've also decided to do another book in the series for the ages of like 8 to 11. So like elementary school going into middle school. It's going to be part of the series, but every character is going to be an animal. And I'm using so it's going to be animal ghost investigators. It's going to be a dog, a cat, I don't know, a hedgehog, you know what I mean, right? And they go to investigate, and they're going to do an overnight ghost hunt. And the ghosts in where they're investigating are also only animals. So that is that's going to be a book in the series where I'm not going anywhere to write, right? But I feel like my daughter is 9, Edelweiss is 9, and she wants to read these books so bad because she's so interested in it. And I find that all of her friends are really big into like the Conjuring movies and Annabelle and all this stuff. And I was like, man, there's not a lot of ghost hunting books like for that age range. So I was like, heck it, I'll write it and I'll put it in the Get Haunted, like in this Get Haunted series. And the way that I'm going to tie Get Haunted in is that all of the investigators are the pets of the humans from Get Haunted. So that's how I'm going to keep it a Get Haunted novel, but it's going to be for the kids. So that's going to be coming up. That'll be fun. So that's the two. The next look at the insane asylum on location, and then the kind of elementary middle school book where it's all the pets investigating ghost pets.
That's absolutely awesome. And I say that because sometimes I know that young readers or children they really they start watching some of these movies, but in my opinion, some of them are a little maybe not for that age group. So it's good to bring something that's easier for them to follow,
Yep.
maybe not be as disturbing for that age group.
Yeah, and I think them hunting, like investigating the ghosts of other animals, I think will be cute, and it'll never be scary. Like I might push the envelope where it's going to feel like it's going to get scary, but I'm going to do this like the Scooby Doo route on it, where it's never really the bad thing, right? It's going to turn out to be something else, and so I think I'll have fun writing. I've never written anything for that age range, so it'll be a challenge, and I love challenging myself. And my daughter is definitely an inspiration to write that. If anything, I'm writing it for her, so she has something to read.
No, and that's right, fine too. But no, actually, I'll read those too because it sounds amazing. I love animals and I have many pets, so
Yeah.
that's gonna be something fantastic to read. Now,
Yeah.
in with the locations, you go into different locations, and I know you want each one to be a little bit different than the other.
Right.
What makes a location attractive for you to go?
The history. What was it when it was running, when it was open to the public? Like, what was it? And then what's making it haunted? Like, why do people think it is? What's the common denominator here? And I think that's interesting, because when you start getting multiple people who don't know each other, have never spoken to each other, all see the same thing and can describe it to a T. That's one thing at MSP is they have what they call at MSP, they call him Big Boy. And he's this 7-foot shadow figure that people have been seeing throughout the years, who've written about him in reviews of the place. And like, why do people? I know people. I actually never saw him in the 8 weeks that I was there. The other thing that I will never do is lie and like exaggerate just to look cooler. Like, I will look you in the face and be like, I wanted to see him so bad because so many people have, and he just did not want to show himself to me. But that's cool because he has to hundreds of people. So it's curious to me is why so many people have seen this thing, and he's always in the same hallway. He does this thing where he stretches his arms and tilts his head like a Jesus Christ pose. And then he either disappears or comes towards you and disappears. And it's all the tour guides have seen him. They all have. Every tour guide at MSP has a Big Boy story. Like they can tell you they remember the day, the time, where they were standing when they saw him, what he did. Guests have stories about him. Again, he did not decide to show himself to me, but that doesn't mean he's not real, right? Like it's just because he didn't show himself to me over 8 weeks, it doesn't mean I don't believe any of these people. I still 100% believe these people. I just didn't get that experience, so it's stuff like that. It's I find places interesting where there tends to be this recurring residual, loop of people seeing the same thing, and why, like over years. Like, that's super interesting to me. Like, why is this happening?
And I think if anybody will be able to figure out why it's happening, it would be you. if you go back and write about it. But no, and no, it's big. That's one of those things. I'm gonna go look into that right now as well. Once we're done here, there's got to be something to this. And like I said, they shows. Let's find out. We'll find out eventually what's going on there.
All right, I love that.
So, looking at something, because I know you're a writer, and also I discovered that you were also a musician.
Yes, so I was in touring bands for 20 years. I've opened for Faith No More, Limp Bizkit, Godsmack, Mushroomhead, Bile, Crisis, Vision Disorder, a whole bunch of bands. I played CBGB's, New York City, sold out. Played to a sold out crowd at CBGB's before it closed. One of my bands had a very, very, very humbly small hit on the radio that only was played on the East Coast, which gave us some touring power for a while. So that's like got started in music. I was in 4 different bands over 20 years, and all 4 of those bands toured, and all 4 of those bands put out albums. So I have 7 albums that makes up my discography cumulatively over those 4 bands. So on top of, you take my 12 novels. Well, the Ditto House novel will be my 13th. So you take those and then you add the 7 albums that exist out in the world. That makes up like Brian Paone's like artistic world. The 7 records and the 13 novels.
20 years of touring? That is
Yeah,
amazing.
it was. Yeah, man, and I made so many connections. I'm still friends with so many people. I'm still friends with the guys in Faith No More really well. Me and Bill, the bass player. I mean, we text each other still. They played Madison Square Garden on the last tour, and he left backstage VIP passes for me and my son. They rolled out the red carpet for my son. We went backstage. Roddy, the keyboard player, if you know anything about Faith No More, Roddy, the keyboard player, took a selfie of him and my son, and that was Roddy's Instagram profile picture for like the longest time. And yeah, so I made a lot of connections in the music world, and I still have tried to keep most of them. I've tried to, like touch base, check in with them, every so often, so you don't lose that networking. Like even if the band is broken up, whatever member I was friends with, I still make sure that I'll shoot a message off to, or I'll just because you never know in this business when someone they might need a favor or you might need a favor. And I'm not saying that I keep these relationships because I'm looking for favors, but the more people that you don't burn bridges with,
Yeah.
is better for everybody. Like like Fright Reads, Jane Jensen was the musical guest on Saturday, and I'm the one who got her there because I've been friends with her for 30 years. And, she toured with Moby. She toured with, she's toured with some really big people. And that's a connection that over 30 years, me and Jane have never lost touch, because I just don't like to lose touch with people that I care about and that I've met. Even if we met professionally, I don't like to lose touch with people. So I definitely try to keep that open. In fact, like Bill from Faith No More, just to show you like the type of like odd friendship we have, he launched a line of brandy, and he wanted to see if the liquor stores in DC were carrying it. So he's like, Brian, go to DC, see if this store has it in stock. And they did. So I bought one, and I brought it home, and I put it on the hood of the DeLorean, and I took a picture of it on the hood of the DeLorean with the gull wing doors up. And I was like, Bill, is this your brandy? And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to use that. And he used that photo in a marketing ad for his brandy. Right. So I know people who think like Faith No More are, just these, like they love Faith. Faith No More has this like really cult underground following. So whenever I kind of go into stories about like how I casually know them, like I literally can just do that with the with Bill. They're like, what, how? I was like, hey man, I was in a band for 20 years, and like we toured with a lot of people, and I just made sure that I made friends with these people, Sully from Godsmack, and I have a huge long history with him. And I have a funny story about like Dave Mustaine yelling at me backstage, thinking I ate his roast beef sandwiches, and it wasn't. It was Spider from Power Man 5000 who I was friendly with, and like, but I got Dave Mustaine yelling at me backstage when it was like Spider, and Spider's over in the corner like laughing because he knows it was Power Man who ate the sandwiches, and they ate the sandwiches because Megadeth was such a pain in the ass on that tour. So I have all these stories of like backstage shenanigans, like I was on stage for Public Enemy. I'm friends with Chuck D and Flavor Flav. I got to be like on stage, like watch them on side stage at Gillette Stadium, the Patriot Stadium, because they played a festival. So I got to watch their set like next to, the DJ, and watch, the back of Flavor Flav and Chuck D's head. Oh, let me tell you someone who's amazing. So David from Disturbed, I have a story about him that whether you like Disturbed or not, because I know like in the metal world that gets split. There are people who love Disturbed, and there's people who kind of roll their eyes and be like, you know what I mean? But if nothing else, I was backstage. I had backstage passes for Ozfest one year because I'm really, really good friends with a band called Pitch Shifter. And Pitch Shifter gave me backstage passes for Ozfest. So I was in the past I had was a band pass. So like I was walking around like a band member. I was hanging out with everybody backstage at Ozfest. And it was the year that Kitty and like Kitty was on the second stage and Disturbed was headlining the second stage. Cold Chamber, I think, was there that year. And I'm on stage watching Kitty, and it was super hot out. It was just like ungodly hot that day. And I'm sweating and I'm kind of rocking out to Kitty, watching from like behind their guitar stacks. And David from Disturbed is standing next to me and he's rocking out and he's looking at me. He's like, "Hey man, you good?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You look really hot." I'm like, "Oh, I'm good, man." He's like, "You need to stay hydrated." He's like, this sun's legit." It's like, "No, I'm good, man." And so he disappears. He comes back with a bottle of water for me. He does not know me from Adam, but he saw that I was like red. I've been sunburned. I was sweating like that. That's so, I have all these interactions with people. I have these little tiny like micro stories with people, and so whenever I hear people like talk shit about Disturbed, about them being like, dad metal and all this crap, I always want to be like, man, your opinion is your opinion. But if anybody ever talks shit about that man, like he's one of the nicest fucking guys I've ever met. Like so it's those little things that I think were fun when I was in touring bands, to like have those interactions with musicians, to see them move on and get big. And then I stayed in touch with them, so it's been kind of an interesting life.
Now, want to touch it up on that with these experiences, the stories. You're still in contact with a lot of the musicians and former band members, and you had this network
Yep.
of talented individuals. If one of them would say, "Hey, Brian, what do you say? You want to cut a few songs together?" Would you do it?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I've been out of the music. So the last tour, my last band, Transpose, our last tour was in 2013. And then I put out an album in 2015, but no tours, did not do a single show. So the last time I played live was 2013. And the last time I was in a studio writing new songs was 2015. So it's been enough years where I didn't miss it, but I'm starting to again. I'm starting to be like, hey, I kind of miss being on stage. I kind of miss being in a rehearsal room with a bunch of guys, like figuring out what the next riff should be. I kind of, you know what I mean? I kind of miss this. So I'm not saying that like I'm going to like answer a Craigslist ad tomorrow and join a band, but I would say 5 years ago, it would have been a hard no, but I'm not so sure anymore. Now I'm definitely softening up to the idea of possibly seeing what's out there to dip my toe back in the music. And even if it's a bunch of guys my age who also did the touring thing and just don't want to kill themselves anymore. Hell, I'd be in a band that plays the stupid dive bar every so many weeks just to be on stage. You're playing to like 3 drunk people and the bartender. Like I used to hate those shows because I was trying to make it in the industry. When you're on tour, you hate those shows because you look at, well, we're not getting paid, obviously. No one's going to buy our merch tonight. But I've had a point in my life where I think those shows would be just as fun now as the shows that I was playing in front of 1,000 people,
Some of the best shows I've seen have been places like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I completely agree. But when you're the musician, they're not fun.
I get it.
Like,
yeah.
Those are kind of those are some mood killers. I've been there. We were on tour with a band called Candaria out of New York, and we showed up to a club, and the club forgot there was a show, and they had booked a rave night. So we're there, 2 bands, tour buses, all this gear, and they have rave night posters everywhere. Tonight, rave, 8 p.m. And we're like, yeah, so that's the stuff I don't miss,
That's a Spinal Tap moment there.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But no, I see like so many great bands. I think one of a lot of the places I used to go to watch bands, not calling it a dive bar, depending on who you think, on your opinions. I used to go to Jackson Springfield a lot. I don't know if you remember that.
Never
location.
Heard of it. No. So you remember, I moved here in 2020, so I still don't. You would think in 5 years I would know the area, but I still feel like weekly I'm hearing about a place I've never heard of before. So
well, Unfortunately, it's not around anymore. Even by then, I think that. But no, a lot of great stuff, and I even seen bands that can fill a stadium, like in Europe.
Right.
They've come over here and then drew maybe like less than 100 at a
Yeah.
club. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
insane, but it works for me because I can be
Right.
there closer and pay better prices for the band. But no, I'm a metalhead at heart. Since I was 8 years old till now,
Right.
so I'm the
Right.
king of dad metal. For the listeners, they can't see, but this is just the beginning. Right here, it just goes
Yeah. Yeah.
across the walls. I still
Oh,
got
I see
some
that. Yeah.
crates in the garage. I'm gonna bring
That's
him in.
like
This whole
me.
studio.
No, you should see my music collection. It's wild.
Oh, we'll talk about it one night. I think we and I have a lot in common, and metal's one of them. And then let's not say the elephant in the room, but I saved this one for last. And I know that you've probably told these stories millions of times, and hopefully you'll tell it 1,000,001.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this DeLorean and how did you
Yes.
get your hands on this thing?
Yeah. So that's a thing. So we're gonna go back to Brian. Is 6 years old, and he sees a DeLorean out in the wild. Before there's this little movie that really didn't do well. It's called Back to the Something, and so it was
Nice.
before it came out. But I remember seeing this car, and I remember the door opening and the driver getting out, and it blowing my mind. The problem is when you're 6 years old, you don't think to memorize or look at the make and model of a car. Like that's not part of your brain. You're not like, well, that looks really cool. I'm going to write down the make and model of that car, right? But I never saw one ever again. And it was like, it became like the holy grail for me to find another one or to figure out what the heck that thing was. My mother took me to the movie theater to see some movie, and there was a poster for Back to the Future coming soon. She said I saw the poster and like in the theater lost my mind because there it was. That was the car I had seen a couple of years earlier when I was 6 years old, and it's on a huge poster now. So she took me to see the movie in the theater. I've seen all three in the theater, and when that car rolled out of the back of Doc's truck for the first time, and that door opens again, for me to see the car on this huge screen that I had feel like in my brain had been like looking for. Now I knew what it was, and now it time traveled, right? And it was done. So it's been my dream car since I was that old. And it's funny because like it's been throughout my life. It's been the only materialistic thing that I've ever wanted. Okay. I've always wanted kids. I have 4. So I did that, times 4. I've always wanted a satisfying career. I've always wanted to create art, whether it was music or writing. And I do consider music and writing art. And then a lot of people, when you say I'm an artist, they immediately think painting, sculpting, stuff like that. Right. But I do believe that art is art. But I never wanted anything materialistic other than this freaking car, my whole life. And it never waned. I never lost sight of the DeLorean being my holy grail. And if you look through pictures of me, photo albums of me, through the 90s, high school, college, hanging out with friends, every 4th picture is me wearing a DeLorean hat, a DeLorean t-shirt, not a Back to the Future t-shirt. It was never Back to the Future. It was never about Back to the Future. It was always about the car, right? So, so if anybody ever wants to like throw the bullshit flag that of my fandom of the car, I'll be like, really? You want to look through 1992, 1993, 1994? Look, I'm wearing the t-shirts, right? In 2003, I decided I was working, was making some pretty good money at my 9-to-5 job, doing the band thing. We were touring on long weekends, or I would take leave and we would tour during my leave. But since I had, we all had good 9-to-5 jobs in the band. So touring was kind of now just, 3-day weekends, 4-day weekends. We do little, jaunts, New York, New England, New York, stuff like that. And so I was like, you know what? I think I can afford one. now. I think it's time for me to buy a DeLorean. And I found one in New Jersey. This is 2003. I had about half the money in my savings account that he was asking, and I got a loan to cover the rest. I was going to fly down with my best friend, and we were going to drive the car home to Massachusetts because I was still living in Salem. I hadn't moved out yet, and that was the plan. Something happened in my life where I needed a couple thousand, about a half a dozen grand, like immediately, and I had to deplete the savings account. So there went the DeLorean. And so I was that close and didn't get it. 2003. I met the woman that would become my wife and the mother to my children. Now my ex-wife, but 100% amicable. So like that wasn't said in any sort of snarkyism. I'm just saying facts. For most of our marriage, she would ask me, oh, Brian, what do you want for Valentine's Day? Oh, Brian, what do you want for your birthday? Oh, Brian, what do you want for Christmas? We got to a point in our marriage where she would actually say, Brian, what do you want for your birthday? And don't say a DeLorean. Because that would always be my answer. For like the first 8 years of our marriage, she'd be like, Brian, what do you want for your birthday? A DeLorean. Like, so she had to actually start putting that in there because this is how much I harped on it. My first book, so authoring actually ties into the DeLorean. My first book came out in 2007. That I've been published now 18 years. First book came out in 2007, sold really well. My second book came out in 2010. When my second book came out in 2010, my wife at the time said, why don't you open up a savings account and put every penny of the book sale royalties into the savings account and call it your DeLorean fund? Why don't you save up for the car? And what you do with that money, it doesn't affect the household. I will never ask for it. We'll pretend it doesn't exist. It's not going to bills. It's like that you're writing, you're earning it. Go ahead and do that. So I did, opened up the savings account. Every single penny I made from my first two books was funneled in. Book 3 came out. Book 3 got nominated for a Hugo Award, which kind of slung me into the stratosphere. Every penny for that book went into the savings account. Then my first 3 books were then released in audiobook. Audiobooks were really taking off. Every penny from those sales went into the savings account. Book 4 came out in 2017. All the money now of that audiobook and now I have 4 books going into the savings account. Book 5 came out in 2019. Again, same thing. All the money's going to the savings account. So 9 years, 5 books, every penny, paperback, ebook, audiobook. My mother texts me as I'm driving an ad for a DeLorean. 17,000 miles on the car, 1981. It is in mint condition. It has been a garage queen its whole life. In my price range. I call the lady immediately from the ad. She goes, oh, well, you're the third person to call, and I have to make it fair. So, if the other 2 don't want it, don't take it. You're third. And I was like, I'm not getting this car. There's no way people 1 and 2 are going to pass up this car. Because DeLorean, people don't inquire unless you're going to buy a DeLorean. It's something you don't call if you're not serious, right? That's just not what happens. She calls me back about 3 days later and says, well, caller number 1, I feel like I'm on the dating show. Bachelor number 1.
Right.
Caller number 1 tried to undercut her in price. Kept trying to talk her down. She was very firm on her price. She's like, okay, so I basically looked at him and said, you know what? We've been in 3 days of negotiations. I'm not going any lower. I'm moving on to person number 2. She says, I called person number 2 and I left a voicemail. He did not answer. I'm giving him 72 hours to call me back. And if he doesn't, it's your turn. I don't think I slept in those 72 hours. I've never prayed to whatever God exists for someone to not make a phone call before. Like, I would just be like, please, 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 please do not call this lady back. Please do not have gotten the voicemail. Maybe it was garbled. Maybe he couldn't hear what she was saying. Just anything, right? Well, the phone rings. It's not her because I programmed her into my phone, so I knew if she was going to call me back, so I wouldn't like miss it. The phone rings, and it's not her, but it's the same area code. I recognize the exchange, and I answer it, and it's her dad. And her dad's like, "Hey, Brian, Sarah, that was her name, the owner. It's like, Sarah wanted me to call you. 72 hours is up, and it's yours." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, yes." You don't. I'm like, I will. The price she's asking, it's like, I'm not gonna. Nope. That's good. Yes, like we are good, right? I was $3,000 short. I didn't care. I was ready to sell my body, like on the streets, to make that $3,000. Like I was not letting this car go because I was $3,000 shy. I called my mom, who's been my biggest supporter through my whole life, who's been with me through this whole DeLorean journey, who sent me the ad in the first place. And I was like, Mom. So my mom covered the 3,000 that I was short, and I went to the bank and wired the money. And Sarah, because the car was in Traverse City, Michigan, and I bought it sight unseen. And Sarah, the owner, in good faith, FedEx overnighted me the title and a spare set of keys, just so I knew that there was a car, like just, you know. And then I had to get a transport company to go up and get it, which that's a whole nother funny story. And I can do this in like 30 seconds. No transport company would go to Traverse City, Michigan in February because of the snow. They were like, no, we will start doing runs up there around April. Call us back. Sarah's like, I need this car out of my garage now, Brian. You need to come get this car. It's not even my car anymore. You have the title. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. If I lose this car over something stupid as not being able to get it out of her garage, like this would be the universe playing the worst joke possible. I found a trucking company. The driver's name was Ivan. Ivan calls me in this thick accent and says, I will go get your car. He wanted $500 under the table on top of the normal transport fee to brave the elements, like off the books. So I PayPal'd him $500 extra just to go get the stupid car in February. And there's a photo that Sarah sent me with Ivan loading my car into the transport. And it is a blizzard. They're out there with hoods up and the snow is just bustling. And there's Ivan and there's my car going up into the transport. It was like best $500 I ever spent. Like that is my DeLorean story. So book sale royalties. Yes.
Excellent. Expedited shipping. And Ivan, if anybody can take a vehicle through the snowstorm, it would be a guy named Ivan.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Perfect. So when you took that title over to DMV and do all that stuff there, anybody's like, what exactly do you have here?
Yeah. Well, when she was typing in the code, I saw there was a moment where like she lit up and she was like, oh, this is a DeLorean. I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, that's super cool. The Back to the Future car. I was like, yep. It's like, oh, she's like, I've never, in all my years working here, I've never typed this into the computer before. So that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Cool. And then before we go, now that you have this DeLorean,
yeah,
if you were to be in the market again to buy another vehicle that you saw in a movie that you really would want, which one would it be? I got my choice, but I'll let you go first.
So we're doing movie vehicles only,
or TV?
Okay. The land speeder from Star Wars.
All right.
Or maybe like an ATST, like a chicken walker, just walk around the city with it.
All right. No, you're not going to get any attention that way. Trust me. No, I think with me, it would be the car from the Wraith.
I love the Wraith. And you know that car is in a museum.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that movie. That's one of my favorite 80s movies.
And
they built that car for that movie.
Yeah. No, it looks great. It's actually, I think I saw an episode of Jay Leno's Garage.
Yeah. I met him, because of the DeLorean.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I met Jay in California. We had the same mechanic. So I had a mechanic working on my car, and Jay Leno showed up in like a hoodie and sweatpants. And so I met him, out there.
I'm just chilling. I mean, geez. No, that's awesome. No,
Yeah.
no. So now for the listeners, so let's find out that not only maybe we'll hopefully see your DeLorean at an event, learn more about your books, and would like to learn more about your albums that you put out during your
Yeah.
20 years as a musician. Where
Right.
can they go find out?
So I have a website where everything is streamlined onto my site. So all information with purchase links to all 12 of my novels, information, purchase links, and free listening for all 4 of my bands, plus pictures of my car, videos of my car. It's all on my site, which is myname.com. Well, it's not myname.com. It's brianpaone.com. So BRIANPAONE.com. The good thing about that is if you buy any books or from my site, I sign them and I also get all the royalties. I don't have to share it with the store. But if you are like, yep, not going to go to his website, that sounds too hard. Or I have a gift card to Barnes & Nobles or Amazon. All 12 of my novels are available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook in every bookstore. I am wide. So Books A Million, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart, Amazon, you name it. If they sell books, I'm probably there in all the formats. All of my bands, except for The Grave Machine, is on Spotify, YouTube Music. So if you use those apps, those streaming services to listen to, 3 of my 4 bands are there. The Grave Machine, the only way you can listen to that or get a copy of that is from brianpaone.com. The reason why was because there was some disagreement within the band members of who owns that and who puts it up and stuff like that. So that's why that exists purely on my website. But yeah, all my other stuff is on Spotify. But yeah, but it's there. You just have to go to brianpaone.com if you want Grave Machine stuff, which is kind of like old school Ministry, meets like Neurosis and Pink Floyd.
And I'll definitely put the website on the show descriptions once I release the episode. And if I don't see you anytime soon,
Yes.
I'll see you at the next Fright Reads.
Yeah, absolutely. Fright Reads is life. Harry should make a t-shirt that says Fright Reads is life and then like maybe underneath.
Excellent. Thank you for being an awesome guest on Let's Find Out.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Thank you, my friend.
Copyright Diego the Podcaster. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out with Diego is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.